All right, so good afternoon and aloha.
Aloha.
Now, I know you all know me, but so I'll just dispense with the normal introductions. Thank you everybody for coming out today. We're talking about laptop communication technology. So how, using a laptop, how are we able to communicate with other individuals, other devices, other computers, and so forth. And has three primary methods. Bluetooth, cellular, wide area network or WAN, and Wi-Fi. For sure, you guys have because I see on your desks here, a lot of you have mobile devices, and we're familiar with Wi-Fi for our wireless connectivity. We'll talk a little bit about what that means. What about Bluetooth? Do any of you have Bluetooth devices? What kind of Bluetooth device do you have, Alma?
Amazon Echo.
You got the Echo,
Yeah.
okay.
Wow.
So the Amazon Echo, so you can say, Echo, what time is it? Or what's the weather like? Or Amazon Prime Music, or tell me a joke, or something. Okay, great. Anybody else have any Bluetooth devices? Yeah, what you got?
A lot of portable wireless speakers. And
Okay.
phone pairs.
Okay, portable wireless speakers are common, Bluetooth headsets and so forth, so we'll see some pictures of that. So, I know you guys are quite likely, as students, you have some familiarity with these because you have laptops, you have tablets, you've got connectivity. But I kind of thought it might also be interesting to explore a little bit about just wireless technologies in general. Have you heard the term electromagnetic spectrum? Does that sound familiar at all? Okay, so what we call the EM spectrum, all the different kinds of electromagnetic waves that occur around us. Now, this isn't a physics class. Don't worry. Hopefully, I won't bore you to tears here. But there's a lot of information we can see just from this slide. But essentially, what we're talking about when we're talking about Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and cell phones, we're talking about this area right here. Waves that are about this big, about the size of a butterfly, a real butterfly or a baseball. This right here is the 2.4 gigahertz range. So you can see how it compares in size of the wavelengths compared to protons and nucleuses and so forth, all the way over here to big, huge buildings, radio waves that are really long amplitudes. Maybe another example of that though, what does that sound like? What do these wavelengths sound like? Well, we hear it a lot in radio, right? Radio. Turn on your AM stereo, if any of you have those anymore, or FM. But I kind of thought it would be interesting to listen, what does it sound like in space? Any of you ever listened to music before while you're in space? On a rocket ship, going on a trip or anything? So, right up here, I've got a little icon. This is what it actually sounds like in space. This is what we call the interstellar medium. If you could listen to stuff in space, this is what it would sound like. I'm gonna just kind of skip around here. It's about a 30-minute clip. That's essentially just the background noise of electromagnetic frequencies that occur in space. It sounds like a scary background clip for some sort of Halloween movie, right? Now obviously there's no actual sound in space, but there are waves in space. Those waves occur at a particular frequency, or hertz, and those translate into sounds when we play them here. So I kind of thought that would be a fun little example. All sorts of devices that operate in the electromagnetic spectrum. If we were to explore some of those devices, right, your radio, your microwave, if you've ever experienced turning on your microwave and having it cause interference with your computer or your devices, well, that's because they're in the same area here. If you have a 5 gigahertz, a wireless router like type N, they operate at can be set to operate at 5 gigahertz, specifically so that they don't conflict as much with other devices that are operating in this range. Your cell phones, or your wireless phones, or your microwaves, or so forth. All the way to the extreme, we've got things over here, right? This is atomic energy, where we're talking about nuclear fission and fusion and stuff that's causing damage, destroying, breaking apart our DNA and our atomic elements. That's all the way over here. So we've got all sorts of cool devices that use electromagnetic spectrum, electromagnetic energy, getting a tan. Of course, we can do that here in Hawaii, just going outside. Remotes that we use for controlling our television or something like that. Night vision goggles. And of course, right here, this tiny, relatively small layer, right here, what we can see, visible light. So the fact that we turn on a light and we see stuff, well, that's this tiny, tiny part of the electromagnetic spectrum. But what we're going to be looking at for laptops and so forth is this section right here. This is our, our 1 gig, 2 gigahertz, all the way up to the 5 gigahertz sort of area. This is where most of the devices that we deal with in terms of computers, they're operating in that range. Another way to sort of view that information might be like this. So your electrical power stations, normal desk phones, radios, all these sorts of things continuing on. So we're in this range right here. Mobile phones, Wi-Fi, microwaves, those are all in this gigahertz sort of classification. So I kind of thought that would be a little fun primer as we're talking about these 3 specific technologies. Okay, any questions or thoughts about that? Yeah?
So with the gigahertz, as you go from the previous graph, the wavelengths are more compact?
Yes, so the wavelengths over here are super big. Imagine ocean swells where they're really big. And as they get over here to this side, they're getting progressively smaller where they start actually breaking. So if we go back one more, they start really big and they're getting more and more squished together until all the way over here. They're really, really jam-packed. Great question. Anyone else? Any other questions kind of about the electromagnetic spectrum?
So if we move into a higher gigahertz, we'll be like starting to move from this what do you call this? Like microwaves to infrared or UV, X-ray, something.
Well, so infrared is actually going to be over here. This is where you're going to be like warming up your. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you said infrared. Yeah, infrared is going to be here. Yeah, if we were to increase, so go from 2 gigahertz to 5 gigahertz to all the way up to like terahertz, I mean, or the next just like terabytes, petabytes, exabytes. So there's terahertz, exahertz, petahertz, dotahertz, etc. So yeah, then we would be continuing to go up in that thing. But IEEE, the organization that's responsible for sort of carving up the spectrum, who can use it for what purposes and so forth, they've designated 802.11, that's their designation for Wi-Fi, for instance. So there's particular parts of the electromagnetic spectrum reserved by common accord for specific devices. All right, so we're going to just talk briefly about, I have a question.
Sorry, but I heard the term EMP. Does that have anything to do with this electromagnetic pulse?
So it's related to that. When we're talking about like nuclear devices and so forth, when they explode, they release a lot of electromagnetic energy, that pulse. And imagine it's like a blast of electric radiation, essentially, that's going out into the area. Movies sort of popularized on that. They see tanks all of a sudden stop working or whatever. Okay, so it's all part of this electromagnetic spectrum. We're surrounded, right, by light, energy. We're in this. We live in this world. Computers, we're kind of talking about this area right here. So we've got 3 main technologies for laptops or for most of the devices that we use. Bluetooth, right, it's got some great things. You use it for Amazon Echo, use it for some earbuds. One of the main limitations of Bluetooth is that it doesn't transmit very far. Pretty much the size of this room, about 35 feet for most devices. But it uses low power, doesn't cost a lot, and it's really small in size. So they're great. You see people use them as earbuds for their phone, and the battery can last a long time before it needs to be charged. It uses what's called adaptive frequency hopping. So if there are conflicts on that wireless spectrum, it can try to actively move around to reduce those sort of conflicts. So that's a nice touch. And just like our Wi-Fi, that we're talking about 2.4 gigahertz, Bluetooth, we're in that same range, 2.4 to 2.485 gigahertz. So again, it could conflict with some other stuff, right? But that's one of the benefits, again, that it tries to be able to hop around. There are some different versions, what we call classes. And so if you buy a device, it may matter, but presumably the newer the device, the better off it will be in terms of its class and speed. Right, you can get USB Bluetooth devices. You can plug this into a computer to allow Bluetooth to happen. But a lot of more and more manufacturers have Bluetooth enabled, directly as part of your laptop device. Okay, cellular. So of course we've got mobile phones that's utilizing cellular, but also you can use either a mobile phone or at least cellular chips for connectivity on your laptops. So one of the common ways to be able to do this is either through tethering. We'll see an example of that here in just a little bit, where you tether your existing cell phone to provide internet connectivity for your laptop. But also some laptops actually have a chipset for it, especially tablets. You can get an iPad that's got like a cell phone chip on it, so you can get 3G or 4G connectivity right through your tablet. So you can use either Wi-Fi or the cell connectivity. Some laptops have that, or you might have a card, a slot, either PCMCIA's card that you can put in, that's pretty old, or a USB adapter that you can put onto it to create your hotspot. Any of you use a mobile hotspot? Used one before, like a MiFi or something? So we use it in our house. Our internet connectivity at our house is, so we have a tablet, and we turn on the tablet. It gets 3G network or 4G when we're lucky, really lucky. And then it sends out a Wi-Fi signal that we can use for the computers or devices at our house. The nice thing about the cell is that it's pretty ubiquitous coverage these days, at least in the United States. I can drive from San Diego to Seattle and find cell reception almost all along the way. So if I have a cell-enabled device, I can get internet connectivity anywhere. Whereas with Wi-Fi, for instance, I have to have somebody who's utilizing a router or some other technical devices to broadcast in that Wi-Fi. So you hear about like coffee shops or other places where you can go and get Wi-Fi connectivity. But it has a wider range, and so I'm at home. If I have a Wi-Fi connection, I can sit on my couch. My Wi-Fi will probably cover my whole house. It makes it really easy for network connectivity because it's platform independent. So if I'm on an Android or an iOS or a Mac computer or whatever, they can all use that same 802.11, that same Wi-Fi standard to be able to communicate. So it's really helpful. Connection distance is about 300 feet. Certainly big enough for my house from one side to the other. It'd be nice to have a house that doesn't fit. You need multiple Wi-Fi routers. And most most laptops have one of these three sort of chips inside of it. Okay, this is pretty old, and not likely to find that with any newer devices. But you could have one of these ones. So this next picture right here. Right, so if you remember back to your studies for computers, if you've ever studied them, you see all these little green boards and stuff. Well, inside of the laptop, there's going to be one of these boards, and that's your wireless device. That's what we call your NIC, your network interface card, specifically in this case for your Wi-Fi. Okay, so this last slide is just sort of an overview of these areas. Bluetooth, small, portable, that has a limitation on the distance, about 33 feet. Does support encryption though, which is great. So you can have nice secure telephone calls or other things. Wi-Fi, you guys use that all the time. We have it all over campus. And I mentioned the tethering. I wanted to point out there's lots of tutorials for tethering, for instance. If you want to be able to take your phone, use it as a hotspot so that you can connect your laptop or other devices to it through Wi-Fi. There's lots and lots of tutorials about that. Or one of the other nice features, let me switch here. If you lose a device, there's some other tutorials about being able to use networking technologies to be able to help you find lost devices. So I know I've been in class before, had the phone that somebody had left sitting there, started beeping, and then eventually a student came in and said, has anybody found my phone? And they turned on their mobile me connectivity so they could find their device. Kind of a fun scenario. So that's laptop wireless technologies in a nutshell. Pretty basic, right? Three main things: Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and cellular. We use them all the time. We interface with the electromagnetic spectrum all the time. We just may not realize it. Any questions? thank you. Appreciate you attending today, and have a great day. Aloha.
Wow.
I'm just going to rotate this a little bit so that you can see that there are actually some other people here in the classroom, and hopefully this worked properly. So you can see some people's heads there, so smiling on camera, there you go. All right.